on the Omi Show. I'm delighted to welcome Chandra Saunders, Vice President of the Mom Project's RISE program, a program designed to reskill and upskill single moms and women in the workforce through a range of professional training courses. A mother of three, Chandra knows how hard it can be to gain access to resources needed in the workplace, but that isn't stopping her. That ain't stopping her. That ain't never stopped me. That ain't never stopped. Hopefully, ain't never stopping none of y'all out there. She has pledged that RISE will provide economic opportunities to 10,000 women in the next 3 years. Like myself, Chandra is also gearing up to release a brand new book, The Essential Upgrade, A Journey of Purpose, Pivots, and Power, later this year. What's up, Chandra? Welcome to the show.
How are you, Omi? I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited. You know, we met, over a year ago? Like a little over a year ago now, I guess.
Yep.
So much has changed in the world. So many things have happened. And so a long time ago, I used to work in workforce development. I'm curious. Well, let me take a step back because I was about to jump right into the conversation. Let me ask you the first question I always ask everybody. And that is, you could be doing anything in the world. You could be sailing the 7 seas. You could be creating an amazing fashion line in Kenya. You could be literally doing anything you want. You could be trying to figure out who built the pyramids. No, but why? Why did you decide to take on this role as VP at the Mom Project's RISE program?
Oh, that's a really great question. But I'd have to say this is something that it has been in me. I have worked on it for pretty much my entire life. And that is really helping other people live their best lives, helping other people see the best in themselves, and helping them get themselves to a better place or to reach their dreams. I could say I've been doing that for a very long time. But in order for me to be effective and impactful at what I do, I like to say, like, I had to go through like actual hell in order for me to be able to live and tell the story and to be able to empathize with people and, put myself in their shoes and really understand and connect with them in a way that if I didn't go through all the things that I went through in my entire life since birth, I wouldn't be able to connect with them and impact them in such a meaningful way.
Well, tell us a little bit about that, because like when you say things you've gone through, what's the story?
Oh gosh, I'm going to say it starts at birth, right? And so, like you said earlier, like I am releasing a book, more than likely at this point, the end of Q1. So it's sometime between, February and March. But it's called The Essential Upgrade, A Journey of Purpose, Pivots, and Power. And the reason I titled it that was because I started my life in foster care and then transitioned to an adoptive family. And honestly, that was my first essential upgrade that happened in my life that really put me on a path to a series of essential upgrades, right? I look at everything that I've been through, every challenge, as a true upgrade and not as like a setback or not as like a challenge, but an upgrade to really get me to that next level because I know my purpose. I'm able to pivot and I stand in all of those things to really have the power that I have, lean into that power and impact other women. And so, started off being adopted, foster care, living that life, not knowing my parents, my biological parents still to this day, getting married, being divorced, having kids, single mom, all those challenges, right? But I look at all of these things as really upgrades to really help me be where I am today. And through all of those things, I'm able to smile. I'm happy. And I'm here talking to you today.
I love that. And I love that you're coining it as upgrades. I feel like reframing our experiences are essential. Gaining new perspective and how to live your life and how to be, regardless of like whatever circumstances are around you, like it's essential. And if you can name it, you can claim it, you can move it, you can clear it. Right. And so I'm like, wow, that people, will say, oh, it's an opportunity. And I was like, no, it's an upgrade.
Oh, God.
It's an essential upgrade.
That's it. Everything.
I love that. I'm going to start telling business owners, like, even as you're pitching your business, you're like, here's the opportunity. It's like, no, here's the opportunity. Here's the upgrade.
That's okay. The upgrade.
I love that. So throughout the pandemic, we know that women were heavily affected. But how did you see, from your perspective and working in the realm that you work in, the impact on women of color and on mothers specifically?
Okay, so let me go back to my story, right? Like I said, I've been through a couple of upgrades, right? So in my career, I started as a high school Spanish teacher and then transitioned to higher education, launched some online programs at a couple of different schools, universities in Louisiana. But I got tired of that and I moved to the Bay Area because I wanted to get like true tech experience. I had been able to well, first of all, I got a job as a consultant for multiple Fortune 100 companies, right? I was doing great. 5 years in the game, doing the thing, right? Progressing, pivoting, doing all the things. But then the pandemic came, right?
Mm-hmm.
And me being the person that I am, I love change. I like getting my hands in everything. I had worked at the top tech company. I worked at the top pharmaceutical company. I worked at the top healthcare company. Then I was like, I've never done a tech project in retail, right? And so when the pandemic came, it really took a toll on the retail industry, right? All their doors closed, the sales dropped, all the things. My project got cut and I got laid off too, right? So I'm one of those people who got laid off during the pandemic. But because I put myself in position to win, throughout my career, throughout my life, I always had skills. Like I've always moved around. I pivoted. I never wanted to be stuck in one thing. I put myself in position to win, and I was able to secure the job that I have to currently leading Rise at the Mom Project within 3 weeks of being laid off. But that is
Mm-hmm.
because I put myself in position to win. And that is what I'm doing with the women that I come in contact with Rise, right? So currently we have upskilled over 6,000 women, right? These are women who
Mm-hmm.
have been laid off. They've been out of the workforce for a bit, like probably taking care of their kids or just doing whatever. And because of the pandemic, their financial situation has changed, or they now need to seek jobs that offer flexibility, all of those things, right? But not just that, they want to earn income. Like there's inflation, there's all these things. The prices of eggs has gone up. Gas was, extremely expensive a little while ago. So people need more income. But these ladies also need flexible jobs, right? And so that's what we're upskilling them for. And it is a passion of mine to recreate what I was able to do for myself and reproduce that in other women. And that is what I'm doing at Rise. And that is why I took this job, to be able to help other women of color, other pivoters, other mothers be happy and do the same thing and love and not have to sacrifice taking care of their kids and earning an income or sacrificing themselves as well.
When you are like raising funding or building out programming, are you going after or working with, I'll say working with, like workforce development efforts from the government, or is it more so just like different donations or partners that you're raising from?
Yes, so we have partners, right? We haven't gone into the government sector and we haven't had to just yet, but partners, right? So we have partners such as Google, Apple, IBM, CDW, Dow. We have all of these amazing partners who have committed to diversifying their pipeline, committed to mothers, committed to women, women of color, and committing to help them um, get access, right, to better jobs, get access to economic opportunities and increase, right? And so they donate to us. They hire our women. They're connecting our women who have finished our programs to many of their employer partners as well. And so it's kind of like a spider web of commitment to the cause with the partners.
What are some of your, if you can say, like your favorite cases that you've seen where, mom comes in, she has a certain level of circumstances, works through your program, gets, tell us about your, and I'm asking you this, but like, I hate when people ask me that because I'm like, I can't tell you my favorite. And then like everybody's listening. But if at all, there's a couple that stand out. Let me say that, not favorite, stand out to you. Could you share?
Of course, I have a couple, right? And so I have one lady who completed her Salesforce administration certificate, right? It's a 6 week, very intense program, but 6 weeks, she completed her certification, had been out of the workforce for probably 6 to 8 years, right? Taking care of her kids. But she wanted to get back. It was a pandemic. She needed to help her husband, all the things, right? And so she completed her 6 week certification. We provided them with resume templates that were proven to counteract against applicant tracking systems. And she was able to
Hmm.
get a 6 figure Salesforce administrator job probably a month after completing her certification. And that's with the career pause, right? That's with,
Wow.
all the things. So that's one. And then I have another one who was laid off, right? And so she was laid off, single mom, 2 kids, needed the money, right? Sole provider, all the things. And so she completed her 6-month Google project management certification in 6 weeks because she didn't have time.
Wow.
She didn't have time to waste, right? And
I
so,
mean, talk about going hard. A
oh,
6-month training in 6 weeks.
she had to, right? When you're a mom and it's like, this is like you are all your kids have, you're going to do everything that you need to do as fast as you can do it. We gave her a mentor, we gave her all the resources, the confidence training, the interview prep, all of the things, right? And so like what differentiates our program from a lot of the other programs out there is the community aspect. It's not just the certificate, right? You can get a
Mm.
certificate anywhere, but what you can't get is the community. We have a community platform. We have mentors from all of these Fortune 100 companies. But it's really just the bonds and the motivation and the inspiration that we're able to help cultivate in the ladies that we come in contact with every day.
No, I love that. And so you talked a lot about your journey. And I would love to hear when you talk about purpose, pivot, and power, how important was community and network building for you?
Oh, not much, but it's because, like I said, like I said earlier, for me, it was trial by fire, right? Because I was
Mm,
in Louisiana, and I don't like saying a dead end job, but for me and my dream and my vision and purpose and all those things, it wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go. I really wanted to work in tech. And at that time, there wasn't much true tech innovation in Louisiana at that time in the place where I was
mm,
living. Right. And so I packed my bags, found a job in the Bay Area, packed my bags, not knowing anyone, and left, packed my kids up and left. Right. And so I journeyed through Silicon Valley alone. Right. Like I didn't have a,
wow.
but working at these different organizations, I was able to kind of cultivate a network that I still kind of talk to today. But I didn't have that mentor. I didn't have the network to truly help me function in the space, in these new spaces, right? But because I did all the learning on my own, reskilling and everything on my own, I was able to make it with the confidence and all the stuff that I had. But no one needs to go through what I went through. You don't have to do trial by fire anymore, right? We have a community and we have a network, and it's really proving beneficial to the women in this program who, number one, are pivoting, who feel like they're lost, have lost their jobs,
Mm,
have been in, let's say, one area for 15 years and can't get back into the other, and they're trying to find some new skills and they don't know anyone that works in that new industry. So having that community is beneficial. However, I didn't have it. I had my family as support, but no one in like the
mm.
workspaces that I've been in.
Yeah, wow. So I mean, like, kudos to you because now having a bit network, up and moving to Silicon Valley, to the Bay Area. So talk to me about that move because I think like our listeners out there, they're like, yes, I would love to just pick up and do my thing and move my whole family, but they're so scared.
Hmm.
They're like nervous. They're like, what if I get over there and I end up in poverty? Or like, what
Yeah.
if I get over to a place and I don't find the thing or I'm not able to fare? Like what were some of the things you used to keep yourself encouraged? And then like how did you know? Like how did you know like I'm gonna get over here and I'm gonna get this job? Like what like was it just intuition?
It's
Was it
very
just taking a
much so.
chance?
It's very much so intuition, taking a chance. And this is something that I've done my entire life. I've always been many times the only Black person in something. I've always just been the one to go, right? And try something new and forge a new path or do all the things, right? And so, again, my book, The Essential Upgrade, purpose, pivot, and power. And every decision that I make is about my purpose and this vision that I see. Right. So I don't ever doubt that. No, I didn't know what I was going to face when I moved to the Bay Area, but I knew that I wasn't going to fail. I have like very strong, serious faith, but I also know this, right? Like the power of attraction, the law of attraction, all those things. I don't have time for a negative thought. Because if I think negative things, they're coming for me. And me being a mom who's like trying to make it alone, like I don't have time for negative thoughts. So I
Mm,
listen to motivational videos. I have words of affirmation. I have my pastors that I listen to. Like, and I spend a lot of time alone to truly cultivate my inner voice and make sure that it's positive and all those things. So it's a whole lot of things that I do to really keep my mind positive, but and my intention set. But it every decision I make is rooted in purpose.
I love that. What are some of you're big on holistic wellness as well. So like what are some of your top tips for maintaining good physical, spiritual, and mental? Like when you say all these things like mental, spiritual, and mental well-being while navigating the work sphere as a mother.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's like hard, right? So you have to be intentional about your self care. And for me, that is boundaries, right? Like at a certain time, I can't talk to you or I can't talk business at a certain time. But also, like, I prioritize my alone time. I
Mm,
prioritize me. If that's like taking a 30-minute walk, which is what I do around the neighborhood, if the weather is good, right? Like that helps me clear my mind. It helps me be creative. It helps all the things, right? But I meditate. I listen to lo-fi music, which that's like the best thing ever. Like this guy at work, like kind of put me onto that, but that does it for me. I read, right? I have my words. I journal. I have aromatherapy, as you know, very much so from Miraval. I do go to Miraval a couple of times, which is I'm giving them a shout out right now, but it is a wellness resort. Right. And so that's how you and I met at Miraval and the Berkshires.
yeah.
But there's one here in Austin, and I go a couple times a year. And I just went a couple of weeks ago, right, like a day before the new year, right? And so this is something that I do. I prioritize my well-being. I prioritize my alone time. I cultivate my inner voice, my intuition. I take a walk, take a bath. I just prioritize me because if I'm not right, nothing else is.
What do you think about like people trying to flip that switch, right? Because it's like it's a well-known thing. It's like if I prioritize well-being, then things will be well. Is the way I'll put it. If I prioritize well-being, then things will be will be being well, even outside of me. Um, I'm really curious about like how do you flip that? Were you always this way? Let me ask that because you may have always been that person.
No. So I am always going for something new and always trying something new. This is what I do. I get bored easily and I always like to just do new things. And so there was a point when I was living in Louisiana, I owned a boutique, right? And so I started from my kitchen table when my daughter was born. Hair bows were huge in the South. And so all the hair bows were like $15. And I'm like, I'm not paying $15 for a hair bow, so I'm going to learn how to make them. And so I started making hair bows. I started making t-shirts. And then I grew it from my kitchen table to a brick and mortar store, right? And I was
Mm.
working a full-time job at LSU. I was after work, I was going to my store to work. Then I was staying up at night, making custom t-shirts, custom clothes, all the things. I ran myself like ragged. All right. I have a brand called
Mm.
Hills and Hustle, right? There is a seed time and a harvest time. There are times when you have to hustle, and there are times when you need to prioritize some rest. And I learned that the hard way, right? I did great things with my business, but it's not sustainable. And if you want something sustainable, you have to prioritize both and you have to find that balance. I'm not saying every day, right? But there are times and you have to figure out your own cadence that you really have to like find that balance. Otherwise, it's just not sustainable, right? And so, I mean, we see people today just kind of like, going into cardiac arrest, doing all these things. And it's because
Mm.
like you really have to prioritize your health and your wellness along with all the other things going on. So
All right, hold that thought. We'll be right back. We got to take a quick break. We're going to keep talking about holistic wellness. We're going to keep talking about the book, The Essential Upgrade, A Journey of Purpose, Pivots, and Power by our guest today, Chandra Saunders, VP of the Mom Project's Rise program. I'm so excited to keep the conversation going. You listen to The Omi Show. We'll be right back after this. Keep it live. And we're back. You listen to the Omi Show. I'm your host, Omi Bell, and I'm here with Chandra Saunders, the VP of the Mom Project's Rise program. And we're talking about what she does so well. She has a book that she is about to release called The Essential Upgrade, A Journey of Purpose, Pivots, and Power. So stay tuned for that. So listen, we're talking about workforce development, but we're talking about something bigger, right? And I think that like when the realm of workforce development is about upskilling, reskilling, that kind of thing. But the work that you're doing is more holistic. I feel like you're addressing the whole person. So it's like, let's give you some wins. Let's help you get to the certifications. Let's help you get to the things that you are looking to achieve. And let's get you some access to capital, right? By you getting into these roles through our partners. In my book, Originate, Motivate, Innovate: 7 Steps for Building a $1 billion Network, I talk about the power of asking questions. And so I'm curious about what questions you have to ask yourself, or you have had to ask yourself along this journey to really reframe into your purpose, pivots, and power.
What questions do I have? So again,
What,
it
what
always,
questions do you have to ask yourself?
what do I ask myself, right? But it all goes back to my purpose, right? Does this
Mhm.
align? Does it align? Will I be happy? Will I be overextended? Um, that's really it. Does it align with my purpose, right? Like, I know what my purpose is. I want to inspire people. I want to motivate people. I want to help people. And so every choice that, but I also want to make money too, right? And so every choice
Okay.
that, that part too, but every choice that I make, whether it is personal or with work, like, it all goes back to that. Even like friends that I have, right? Like my connections that I have, like, am I going to bring them closer? Does it align with where I'm going, or is it a distraction? Right. And so just keeping my eye on that, on my purpose, my family, all those things, and all those things that are extremely important to me, that allows me to just continue on the right path. And of course, you make mistakes or whatever, and that's when you learn. But just really aligning with my purpose is how I'm able to just go forward with everything.
So those are really great questions. Like, is it aligned with my purpose? Um, is it a distraction? Right? I think, like, is it a distraction? Is such a great question to stop and ask yourself, because like things get noisy. Like, it's just right. Oh, you should do this. You should do that. Oh, you ain't this. You ain't that. You can't do that. Oh, you can. Oh, and so being able to stop and sort of do, like you talked about, like taking walks, meditating, things like that. Like being able to take that time and say, wait a minute, is this a distraction? Is this aligned with my purpose? Is this empowering for me? I think is like super, super, super important. And one of the things about like diversity, equity, and inclusion, like DEI, is that we never really know like whether or not the corporations are actually doing it to create this holistic experience, or if they're being performative or not. Like, how important do you think the conversation of DEI is today? I feel like during the George Floyd's murder and during the pandemic, it was like DEI, 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 DEI. Now we're seeing it kind of go into the shadows a bit. It's still there, but we're seeing it kind of go into the shadows. From your perspective as an expert in this realm of upskilling and reskilling women, how do you see this conversation about DEI? Like, how important is it? Do we need to drag it back out of the shadows and make it top line? Like, I'm interested to hear, like, do you think the companies are being performative, or how could they be true to DEI without being performative? That was a lot of questions in
No,
one.
no, it's great. It's great because I'm thinking, okay, so here's the thing. I actually like the fact that right now some companies, some people are putting it on a back burner, right? Because that allows me to see who really cares and who's really
Mm,
committed, right? And I like that. That's if you're still showing commitment and having these conversations and really prioritizing diversity, I am going to partner with you even more. I'm going to elevate your brain. You're going to help me elevate mine. I want to work with you because I feel safe sending the women that I upskill to your company. And there have been times, and I'm sure that you have the same experience, right? In which I'm in a meeting with a partner and I'm getting, microaggressions, or I'm getting something. And I know right then that I will not ever send my candidates, my graduates
mm,
to that company, because if they're doing this to me, I can't imagine what's going to happen to them. Right. And so, yeah, I feel like now is like the time where you actually can see who means it and who doesn't. It's
mm.
very important still.
Is there any is there any fear in that when it comes to trying to get people? hired, right? Like, is there any like the people who are not actually real about it won't actually hire the people, even after they go through levels of uh, certifications and working and even internships. We're seeing people not actually get on. Like when you onboard new partners or when you're talking to them, are you giving them any education about who they're about to hire? Is that a part of the process at all?
So here's the thing, right? And so we talk to their ERGs, we talk to them. It's kind of like a consultative process, right? We are really trying to help reshape and redefine hiring at this point, right? And
Mm.
looking at those who have pivoted, looking at, I don't really like to say non traditional talent, but I haven't found the right word yet. But looking at those who don't have that historic traditional background, like me, right? I was a teacher who pivoted multiple times and ended up leading product development at multiple Fortune 100 companies, right? And I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for someone at these companies taking a chance on me, right? And so, of course, I've had interviews in which I didn't get, but that just wasn't for me, right? But those companies who are committed, they want to learn. We instruct them, we teach them, we do presentations to their hiring managers. We're doing all that we can to truly help reshape the state of hiring for non traditional, underrepresented talent.
During this process, I'm pretty sure, like during your life process, I'm pretty sure you had some dreams. And I got a question for you. Do you feel like any of your dreams have come true?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have one big dream, right? And so I have one big dream, which is why I've had to take all these little steps and all these little upgrades to try to get there. But when I was younger, I wanted to be like, I was going through my senior book, right? And it's like when you're a senior, you write down all the things. I want to be this when I grow up. I want to have this many kids. Um, and one of the things that I wrote in my book was I wanted to be like Oprah, right? I wanted to like be like Oprah, talk on the news, do whatever. And I'm not there, but I am talking. I do have some influence in, at a national level at this time in certain spaces, right? And so I feel like that is, I have kind of made that come to fruition a little bit, right? Like in some area, I have been able to talk and inspire and connect and motivate like Oprah. And so that is one thing that I feel has come true. The next thing is um, moving from Louisiana and just really expanding my experiences and my exposure to the world, right? Like I've always felt kind of bound to what I was, and being able to like move and experience new things. Like currently right now I'm in Austin, but I moved from Louisiana to the Bay Area, which is a whole different culture change. And then from the Bay Area to here, but just not being bound is something that has been very important to me since I was younger. Yeah, so I feel like that's another thing that has come true, right? I'm able to explore different things.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. It has been really great. I mean, listen, we could talk all night about about lots of things. I want y'all to look out for Chandra Saunders and her book, The Essential Upgrade: A Journey of Purpose, Pivots, and Power. It will be out January 31st. Is that due
We're
date?
gonna go by March 31st. By
Okay.
March
By Q1, you did say that. By the end of March 31st. Is there anything that you want to share, Chandra, that we didn't get to yet?
Yeah, like for all the moms out there, all the women of color, all the women, anyone who may need a little bit of help, some community to really upskill and put yourself in a different position or to pivot or to do whatever, like you can find me on LinkedIn, Chandra Saunders, or if you're interested in Rise, you can find us at momproject.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining oh, Lord. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining the Omi Show. We appreciate you.